Okay, this is biology, chapter 6.1, 6.2 notes. Starting 6.1, the title of the chapter is A Changing Landscape, and I just wrote the question, the effect of humans. Humans interact with their biosphere in many different ways, and there can be positive effects of humans or negative effects. All right, great way to start. So I'm going to read something from out of your book. The first humans in Hawaii came from Polynesia in about 1600 years ago. These island people had customs that protected the natural resources of their new home. For example, they were prohibited from catching certain fish during spawning season, and for every coconut palm tree cut down, they had to plant 2 palms in its place. But Hawaiians did not treat their islands entirely like nature reserves. They cut trees to plant farms. They introduced non-native plants, pigs, chickens, dogs, and rats. This combination drove many native plants and animal species to extinction. Yet for centuries, Hawaii's ecosystems provided enough fresh water, fertile soil, fish, other resources to keep the society self-sufficient. What happened next is a lesson at managing limited resources. The lesson is important today as it was over 1,000 years ago. Beginning in the late 1700s, new waves of settlers arrived in Hawaii. These people did not seem to understand the limits of island ecosystems. They imported dozens more plants and animals that became invasive pests. They cleared vast tracts of forest to grow sugarcane, pineapples, and other crops that required lots of water. And as the island's human population grew, they converted untouched land for other uses, including housing and tourism. And if you've ever been to Hawaii, like on the coast, like Honolulu, for example, you know it's highly touristic with lots of high-rise hotels and pools and things like that. What Hawaii's ecosystem actually looks like, if you think of Jurassic Park, they did a lot of filming for that movie in Hawaii. That it was filmed on an island, one of the Hawaiian islands that has been relatively untouched compared to the other ones. It's not as touristy. The effect of those activities on Hawaii's ecosystems and its human inhabitants offers a window into a globally important question. What happens when a growing human population does not adequately manage natural resources that are both vital and limited? So let's talk about agriculture first. A positive thing about agriculture that humans do is it feeds people. So I wrote a P behind feed people because that's a positive thing. The negative thing about agriculture is it uses many natural resources to grow crops, water, soil. So I wrote a negative effect there. And then I also added at the bottom here, after you write that down, another term that you should be aware of is a monoculture. It's a practice of clearing large areas of land to plant a single highly productive crop year after year. Planting a highly productive crop year after year. Mono means one, or monoculture, highly productive crop year after year. Like the soybeans, all around here, a lot of people plant soybeans every year. But a good thing about monoculture, it enables efficient sowing, tending, and harvesting of crops by machines. However, planting one crop year after year can have impacts on the nutrients in the soil. Things like that. We'll talk a little bit more about that. Development. What is development? Modern society has developed, right? Development, as you know, if newly developed areas, it means new places for people to live. So a positive here, positive of development, is a place for many people to live, especially in urban areas. Closest maybe to Thief River would be Winnipeg or Minneapolis. I would call those urban areas. But with many people comes a lot of waste, or a lot of pollution. So that's a negative thing of development. Produce a lot of pollution or waste. Industrial growth, you can see, the Industrial Revolution, how it impacted human population growth substantially. That is this as we populate and we get more advanced in technology, we need these things like electricity and plumbing, things like that. So a positive thing about industrial growth is we have the power plants, the industrial parks that supply the needs that we have. Natural gas, burning coal, oil, there's a few things. So the negative thing about that is you consume a lot of energy running those places. All right. Next thing I want to talk about is something called sustainable development. A lot of money and time goes into finding ways to develop land or space and making sure that land is sustainable. And what does that mean? First, we're going to talk about what is a renewable resource and what is a non-renewable resource. You probably have heard these terms before. So within an ecosystem, you have things that can be renewable. That is, they can be produced or replaced by a healthy ecosystem in a relatively short amount of period of time. That's renewable. So an example of a renewable resource is one pine tree or one tree. Like if you take one down, a healthy ecosystem is going to replace it. Relatively easy, not a big deal. It's renewable. A non-renewable resource, opposite to that, is something that a natural process cannot replenish in a reasonable amount of time, like fossil fuels, oil, coal, natural gas. It takes millions of years to remake those resources by an ecosystem. So what does it mean to be sustainable? So ecological science can teach us how to use natural resources to meet our needs without causing long-term environmental harm. So it provides needs, that's probably not the best word in here, provides needs for humans, provides the things we need while preserving the ecosystem. That is sustainable development. It should cause no long-term harm to the soil, water, and climate. It should consume as little energy as possible. Be flexible to survive environmental stresses like droughts, floods, heat waves, cold snaps. And it should take into account human economic systems as well as ecosystem goods and services. That is sustainable development.